Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're trying to map something that, well, it defies classification.
It really does. It's too specific to just be folklore, but it's also too widespread to be dismissed as, I don't know, a simple superstition.
Exactly. So we're wading into these scattered fragments, bits of police reports, abandoned forums online, some really cryptic journal entries.
And they all describe the same central terror.
So our mission today is a little unusual.
Yeah, we want to treat these not as just ghost stories, but more like case files.
Case files that detail a very precise and very terrifying set of rules.
And the sources are all over the place. I mean, they span centuries, different continents, but the core details, they just never waver.
And those rules are chillingly simple. If you find yourself alone after dark and you hear footsteps falling in perfect sync with your own,
There's one absolute rule you have to follow.
do not turn around.
The whole pattern kicks off with a sound. It's a voice, always low, very deliberate, and it starts counting at 1. And that count rises by a single number each night it happens. The key thing here, though, is the footsteps. They are never out of rhythm.
No, they're a perfect mirror of your own pace, your weight, even your stride. It's uncanny.
And the outcomes are, well, they seem to be fixed. Rule 1. You turn around, the account ends instantly.
It just stops every single one. And rule 2, no one, no matter where they were, what time period, has ever left a record past the number 10.
The 10th night is some kind of termination point.
So that immediately forces you to look beyond, a simple local haunting.
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating is where we find the first modern traces. We should start with the digital archives.
Right. There's this defunct college forum from, 2009?
That's the one. A user named Descartes42. He's the first person to really document it online, in real time.
And his initial posts were actually, they were trying to be funny, dark humor.
Yeah, just a sleep-deprived sophomore walking back from the library. He posts this kind of throwaway comment about hearing a whispered 1 behind him.
Thinking it's a friend messing with him, or maybe just his own mind playing tricks.
But that tone shifts so fast. I mean, almost overnight.
By night 2, night 3, the posts are shorter, lots of capital letters. You can feel the panic.
And by night 4, he's describing this palpable weight behind him. An oppressive silence that's only broken by that step and the number climbing. The humor's just gone.
And he's desperate, right? He just wants someone, anyone, to confirm that they know what this is.
But here's the key detail, the escalation. We might assume this is a street thing, tied to walking alone in the dark.
But his posts confirm that by the time it hit 6, the voice was inside his building.
Exactly. He's posting from his desk.
Mm.
In his dorm room, there are locked doors, concrete walls.
The IP data confirms it too. He's stationary, but he writes on night 7 that he heard 7 while he was in the shower.
The steps were muffled, he said, but they were there. So that confirms it. Once the count starts, location doesn't matter. Proximity it's metaphysical.
And his last entry, at 9, it's just devastating. 9 right outside my door this time. I don't think I can keep this up.
He says, the sound is pressing against the wood. And then, nothing.
The account just goes dark. And the university records, they just show an abrupt, unexplained departure.
Okay, so at this point, you have to raise the counter-argument, right?
Of course. Is it just stress? Sleep deprivation?
Or even something like auditory pareidolia. The brain finding patterns in random noise, hearing whispers and static.
That's a totally reasonable path, but it just hits a brick wall.
The wall of consistency.
Yeah. If this was just psychological, the details would be fluid, they'd be different for each person, culturally specific.
Right, but they all share the exact same core rules. We found accounts tucked away in these, deep corners of the early internet.
Usenet groups for the bizarre survivalist forums.
Chain emails. And these communities had zero overlap. But from 97 to 2009, the descriptions never changed.
Perfectly matched footsteps, count to 10, do not turn.
Folklore mutates. That's its nature. It adapts as it travels. This doesn't. It replicates. With this unnerving fidelity that suggests some kind of constant pattern.
To really get a sense of how personal this thing is, we have to look at the Commuter Journal. This was from 2016.
Right, a night shift worker. Her notes were found later and digitized.
And her entries start pretty late in the cycle, right? Number 5.
Yeah, she was in her mid-30s, very pragmatic, so she immediately tries to beat it with logic.
She documents all her attempts to break the synchronization. Changing subway lines, totally different routes home.
Even just stopping dead in an alley for minutes at a time.
And she describes how useless it was. She'd pause, the footsteps would pause, she'd sprint.
They'd sprint too. Always perfectly calibrated.
which led her to this incredibly dangerous test on the seventh night. She wouldn't turn around, but she had a theory.
That she could maybe see it without breaking the rule.
So she used the reflection in a darkened bus window as a mirror. She's looking at her own face, but watching the background behind her.
And what she records is maybe the most visceral piece of evidence we have about how this thing works.
She didn't see a shape. No shadow, no person. She saw her own reflection, stare back at her and start to move.
Her own lips were sealed shut. But the reflection's lips parted and silently mouthed the number 7.
So the countdown wasn't just external anymore.
No, it had infected her very image.
By the time she gets to 9, her journal entries are barely readable.
She describes the presence as being inescapable. It followed her through these tiny confined spaces, the break room at work, a cramped stairwell.
Even in the aisle of a nearly empty bus.
Which raises the logical question, right? How can something step in perfect sync behind you when there is no physical room for a second person?
It's like an overlay, not a physical thing chasing her.
And the postscript to all this, from the transit records, is just damning. Her last entry was night 9, the next morning. She just stops tagging into the bus system.
So you're left with that dreadful choice. Disappearance at 10 or whatever happens when you turn around. This thing is portable, it's persistent, and it is entirely focused on you.
And that desperation, that need to break the cycle, it's led others to do some really rash things.
Yeah, there was that 2014 online thread. This user detailed his plan to just reset the whole thing.
He was on night 4, absolutely terrified, but he decides he's going to run. Full sprint. He believed if he could just force the footsteps to trip, to lag behind, he could escape.
And at first he actually thought it worked.
He sprinted until he basically collapsed. He said he heard the steps behind him falter, this quick scrambling shuffle, and the voice just cut off.
So the next night, he's overjoyed. He hears the count reset to 1. He thinks he's found the loophole.
But that hope was,
Yeah.
well, it was tragic and very short-lived.
Because the number reset, but the intensity didn't.
Exactly. The new one was louder, more immediate. He said it was closer than it had ever been before.
And when he tried running again?
The footsteps didn't stumble. They stayed perfectly aligned with him at an almost impossible speed.
It's such a terrifying distinction. This isn't just about counting nights.
No. The counting man is tallying the victim's attempts to evade him.
Running didn't save him. It just escalated the intimacy of the threat.
And his account details how, after that reset, the presence became constant. It didn't wait for darkness anymore.
He heard it in the grocery store, waiting for an elevator.
Standing at his own bathroom sink. His final words, they just paint a picture of total collapse. It never leaves. Walls shake. My ears are bleeding from the proximity.
Which raises this awful question. Is it actually worse to try and reset the count than to just let 10 arrive?
So we focused on these digital accounts, right?
Yeah.
But the consistency implies this terror is much older than the internet.
We have to look at the historical record, see if this is all just a modern creation.
And when you do, the pattern holds. Often it's hidden in police reports, filed away as an inexplicable vanishing.
Like the Ohio farmer case from 1891.
Right. A local paper reported on this family just disappearing. And the neighbors said they'd been talking about strange footsteps they'd been hearing for 9 straight nights, circling their farmhouse porch. And the steps were perfectly timed to whatever the family was doing inside. Then on the 10th morning, the neighbors find the house completely undisturbed.
Dinner plates were still set, food half-eaten, no sign of a struggle, no forced entry. They had just ceased to exist.
And you can go back even further, across the ocean, 1743. A sailor's diary recovered from a wreck in the North Sea.
The pages are mostly water damaged, but one entry is perfectly clear.
Dated on the 7th day, it just says, 7 that no man was behind me, I must not turn.
And the rest of the diary is blank. The ship itself showed no signs of a huge storm or a struggle that would, take out the whole crew without a trace.
It suggests that whatever happened to them, it wasn't the sea. It was the end of that unseen pursuit.
And this global consistency, that's the fundamental paradox here.
It is. We find these accounts everywhere. Kukant in Brazil, Kazayu Odo in Japan, Monte Cabala in South Africa.
All describing the exact same set of rules.
And that just runs contrary to everything we know about how folklore works. Legends adapt. They pick up local color.
A ghost story changes from town to town. But the counting man, it doesn't mutate. It replicates perfectly.
Which leaves you with 2, just incredibly unsettling possibilities. 1, every culture in history spontaneously invented the exact same highly specific horror story, which is,
Yeah.
it's basically impossible.
Or two, the counting man is a constant, a phenomenon that appears the same way to anyone, anywhere, at any time.
Something with a mechanism that's rooted outside of our cultural storytelling.
Okay, so if we accept that it's a constant, there has to be a trigger, a mechanism.
And this is where we found the most disturbing pattern of all, across nearly every single case, digital and historical.
The finding is devastatingly simple. In almost every account, the victim heard about the counting man before the footsteps began.
Knowledge of the rules.
Yeah.
That appears to be the primary trigger.
The college student, Descartes 42, he'd read a stupid email. The commuter had brushed it off as an internet ghost story.
The 1891 Ohio family had heard local jokes about it. The sailor from 1743, he mentioned a tale told by dark hands.
The implication is just chilling.
The counting man doesn't hunt randomly. He comes only when you're aware of his existence and the rules of his pursuit.
So every account we've just analyzed, every journal entry, every forum post,
It's not a warning system, it's an infection vector. The story doesn't need to change because awareness itself is what ensures the cycle continues.
and that changes how we look at the end of these stories, doesn't it? We started out asking why the accounts always stop before 10.
But maybe the writers didn't disappear because they hit 10. Maybe they disappeared because by writing it all down, by passing on the cycle, they completed the infection.
Their part was done. Their presence wasn't required anymore for the phenomenon to continue. The story doesn't end because the victim is gone.
It ends because the next victim has been primed.
So if you consider that, the full implication, that awareness is the trigger, that the cycle of knowledge is how this thing spreads across time.
How certain are you that you haven't heard this story or some variation of it before our deep dive even began?